Good morning. Welcome to Native American Sunday. I'd like to just share with you a few notes about today's worship service. Today, we recognize the gifts and contributions made by Native Americans to the church and society. By incorporating some of the traditions and prayers of Native Americans and Indigenous people, we hope to learn more about their history, hear their stories, and discern how their stories and history might begin to shape our own journeys, whether that means becoming an advocate or maybe an ally for Native people. Our sanctuary is set up to honor the medicine wheel used in Native culture. It has been created to represent the four directions: north, south, east, and west. Each direction is also associated with a color, an element, water, fire, earth, and wind, a spirit animal, and a stage of life. Please notice that the words we're using today in the Gloria Patri and doxology are a little different. Welcome. Let's begin with our first hymn. Did you know that Native and Indigenous people are defined as a protected category in the United States, many times because they've been subjected to generations of repression, demonization of their culture and language, and systemic racism? Did you know there are 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States? 7.1 million people identify as being of American Indian or Alaska Native descent. Did you know that of the 30,543 United Methodist congregations in the U.S., 157 of them are Native American? They finally elected their first Indigenous bishop in the United Methodist Church, Bishop David Wilson, in January 1st, 2023. It took us a while. Last year, I spoke a lot about MMIW. I don't blame you if you don't remember what that is. Murdered and missing Indigenous women. Our reading today said, "Do not permit the ways of this world to mold and shape you. Instead, let Creator change you from the inside out, in the way a caterpillar becomes a butterfly." This is good guidance. Here's a little bit of an update. According to the CDC, their National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, American Indian and Alaskan Native females experienced the second highest rate of homicide in the year 2020. More than 2 in 5 Indigenous women, that's 43, almost 44%, were raped at some point in their lifetime. Indigenous people represent about 0.9% of the U.S.'s total population, but as of November 2021, 3.6% of the missing persons included in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System were Indigenous people. That's 4 times their representation in the general population. Okay, let's move on to a new topic, boarding schools. Again, from our reading, do not think too highly of yourself. We are members of his body, and each member belongs to all the others. Initially, the Methodists did not do a good job of this, where the Native Americans were concerned. Methodist entities were involved in running some of the boarding schools for Native American children, which were notorious for harsh treatment. Many of the schools that were established by Methodists, including the Shawnee Methodist Indian Manual Labor School in Kansas and the Asbury Manual Labor School in Fort Mitchell, Alabama, pupils were forced to cut their hair and wear non-Indian style clothing. For almost 100 years, until the 1960s, thousands of Native American children were forcibly taken from their homes and trained to reject their heritage and do manual labor. Christian denominations, including Methodists, were involved in running many of the schools. From 1879 to 1918, a period of almost 30 years, over 10,000 Indigenous children from 140 tribes attended the Carlisle School. In 10 years and 10,000 children, only 158 graduated. Mark, a 65-year-old Native American man, attended 4 Indian boarding schools during his youth. His memories include beatings, once with an aluminum rod, his mouth being washed out with soap if he spoke his native language. He was forced to spend nights in a bathroom stall if he was crying. There was also sexual abuse, a poor diet, and being forced to fight other students for the staff's entertainment. Mark says, "It was the loneliest time in my life. It was horrible living my early life. Sometimes it's shaming to talk about it." His mother was pressured into allowing him to be taken away by threats to cut off her monthly check from the government. The schools operated through the 1960s. That is a fact that shocked me. And there are still some running to this day. They're now operated by the U.S. Bureau of Indian Education. The modern schools provide a quality education to students from across Indian country and empower Indigenous youth to better themselves and their communities as they seek to practice their spirituality, learn their language, and carry their culture forward. So yes, we have broken the pattern and we're on the right track now. So there is good news. Use your gifts in a good way. If your gift is to speak courage and strengthen the hearts of others, then speak bravely. The advocacy and allyship is working. Advocacy by Native American and other Indigenous communities has finally brought increased attention to the experiences of violence in Indigenous communities, using the terms MMIW, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, and Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Increased media representation of Indigenous people. Think about the Indian storyline in Yellowstone and the TV series about missing Alaskan Native women with Hilary Swank in Alaska Daily. Representation counts. If people can't see it and they don't hear it, they can't respond to it. In 2019, the Not Invisible Act was passed. It's a joint effort by Department of Justice and the Department of the Interior aimed at combating violence on the tribal lands and improving reporting. When I talked last year about MMIW, the reporting statistics were horrible. Over 4,000 missing or murdered Indigenous women, and the federal government only had 168 reports. So really, they're trying to improve the reporting because, again, if they don't know about it, they can't do anything about it. It also coordinates case tracking, and it created a task force to work the cold cases. So it's not just starting here and moving forward. They're going to look at the cold cases as well. In 2022, Savannah's Act was passed. It comes out of the recently formed annual tribal consultations, and it is really aimed at addressing the violence against women. It provides murder investigations by both state and federal Department of Justice, assisted by the FBI and BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs. Prior to this, the only law enforcement on tribal lands was tribal law enforcement. And as you can imagine, just like everything else on tribal lands, they were not well trained, not well resourced, and certainly not enough of them. So this now allows investigative bodies from the state and the federal government to come on tribal land to investigate these crimes. They've created a new victim services department, and they've created several new roles. MMIP coordinator, FBI special resources, and a comprehensive data analysis unit, which really makes me happy because in my line of work, we're always asking that question. You want the nurses to document all of this. What are you going to do with that data? How are you going to collect it? And how are you going to use it to make a difference? So it's really heartening to see that they're actually going to analyze the data that they're collecting. Following the passage of the American Religious Freedom Act in 1978, the United Methodist Church created a confession to Indians, an apology in a very big way. In 2012, the General Conference passed a long list of resolutions. I'm not going to read them all because we'll be here all day. But in general, they provide resources for training laity and clergy in cultural sensitivity, which is great. They are giving priority to include and promote Native Americans in the United Methodist leadership, education programs, and the establishment of new Native American congregations. They've transferred any and all holdings on Native lands back to the tribal authority. This, I think, is really important. The Ho-Chunk tribe in Wisconsin, that I'll talk about in a little bit, just recently, I think within the last 6 months, there is a United Methodist Church and the church holds the land and the building as owners, and they recently signed all of that over to the tribal authority. And that's what they've promised to do in all of the United States. They support and work to maintain cultural practices, including traditional ceremonies and rituals, as well as the use and protection of religious objects. So they're really trying to integrate the Native American and Indigenous belief system and the tools they use to worship into a Christian worship. And they assist in the protection of sacred sites and religious artifacts to protect the cultural and history of tribal groups. Think about all of the pipelines and the highways and the other things that the government has decided nobody else wants them in their backyard, so they'll just run them through Indian tribal lands. So the church has made a commitment to help prevent that. So just a little bit about the Native American communities and missions that are kind of local to us. Our reading says, "Seek to live in harmony with all. Do not think you are better than others. Walk the road of life with the humble of heart, and do not be wise in your own eyes." It's a nice warning. So Dayspring United Methodist Church is located in South Peoria, Illinois. They believe that people of all nations and races are called to be Christ's church, and that it's not necessary to renounce your heritage or ethnicity in order to be a Christian, because church members represent many different heritages in their congregation of both native and settler ancestries. They do their best to share and respect each other's ways and traditions. Within their church, they use many practices, including the spirit drum, worship service celebrated in a circle. Guess where my idea to be in a circle came from. And traditional prayers like smudging and using the Four Directions prayer. Ho-Chunk, the people of the Sacred Voice, are located in Wisconsin. Their main tribal center is in Black River Falls. And they're indigenous people with ancestral lineage dating back before anyone was here to keep a history. And they were first recorded as the Wisconsin Winnebago tribe. Unfortunately, this name was given to them by white settlers. So in 1994, when they adopted its current constitution, the nation reclaimed their original name, Ho-Chunk, or People of the Big Voice or Sacred Voice. They're located across southwestern Wisconsin. There's no contiguous reservation, but multiple parcels of land with reservation status scattered all across the state. So they're really not on what we think of as a reservation, as one big place, but they have chunks of it, no pun intended, scattered across Wisconsin. And one of their goals is to really incorporate all of that land into one tribal reservation. There are 1,577 registered members in Wisconsin of the Ho-Chunk tribe. They have a fully functioning governmental system with all the same branches and structure as the U.S. government. The Ho-Chunk Nation's current president is Marlin White Eagle. The tribe maintains their language and cultural customs. They also host powwows that are open to the public. I highly recommend it. It's not that far of a drive. And last, I want to talk a little bit about Tree of Life in South Dakota. It's an UMCOR mission. If your enemy is hungry, feed him. If your enemy thirsts, give him a drink. They are part of the working hands and feet of God to the Lakota Nation on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. It's very, very poverty-stricken there. Their unemployment rate is 80% on the Rosebud Reservation. Their mission services offer a food pantry, a resale shop, and more. They've been supported by the Winfield Church, and our missions team is hoping to continue that tradition at New Hope. So in closing, I just want to say one more quote. If it is within your power, walk the road of peace with everyone. So remember those wrist bracelets they had in, I think, the 90s, 80s or 90s? The WWJD, What Would Jesus Do? Even the United States government recognizes indigenous people as needing protections. God said, "Whatsoever you do for the least of my brothers." The core message of loving others and acceptance of all people who seek the Word and relationship with Jesus Christ applies to indigenous people as well. We have an opportunity here to learn the history and hear the stories and think about how those stories and history might shape our own journey. That might mean becoming advocates or allies for Native people. It may be protecting sacred lands that's desired for other purposes, like mining or pipelines, deforestation, etc. It might be working with organizations that highlight and voice the violence that takes place against Indigenous women. It could be supporting Indigenous people who are working, lifting up and celebrating the challenges, struggles, and achievements of Native people today. I want to just make a few points about allyship. Obviously, none of us can become Indigenous people. If you're not already, you can't become it. Just like you can't, if you're Caucasian, you can't become a Black person and then understand that journey of that group of people without actually being that. But we can be allies. Today's Indigenous people do not want to maintain assimilation rituals. They've had it with that. I mean, just think about those Indian boarding schools. Many know the reality of spirituality, and they're looking for expressions of spiritual formation that ensure the survival of creation. The Native Americans and Indigenous people were the very first environmental protectors, and that they've never wavered on that. We can learn good lessons from them. These new learnings and experiences can not only strengthen the roots coming from that people and culture, but also strengthen all of our roots in Christian faith. Allyship can be experiencing the culture and customs. Attend a powwow. They have one every year at the DuPage County Fairgrounds, which I attended last year with Luann and her friend, and I thought it was fascinating. Visit the Ho-Chunk Nation. Not the casino, but the Ho-Chunk Nation. They have a lot of other things going on. Learn about Native American customs and practices. And always remember, we are all God's children who deserve love and respect. God says, "Do not let evil take over your heart, but overcome evil with good." Sounds a lot like Dr. King, doesn't it? Thank you for your attention today.
God is a giver of all things. And when we give to God our time, our prayers, our money, our talents, we witness His works in our lives so that we can see them in others' lives too. We not return what God has given, because we cannot return what God has given. He has given abundantly. But we are saying thank you and witness God's action in our lives as we participate in giving. So I invite you to participate in this redemption work. You can give us by sending check to the church, to New Hope United Methodist Church, or you can send us online by sending directly to our bank account on the screen. And we hope that this time, this giving, may bring an amazing journey of love to you and to others. Thank you for your offering.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. the creatures say thanks? God of the hungry, God of the sick, God of the prodigal. How does the creature say care? How does the creature say life? God of the neighbor, God of the foe, God of the pruning hook. How does the creature say love? How does the creature say peace? God of the ages, God near at hand, God of the loving heart. How do your children say joy? How do your children say home?
Please stand for the benediction. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries. May the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. Amen.